everyone, good evening and welcome back to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Today is 7th of July and this entire video series it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. The first segment for our discussion would be the editorial segment, and here we talk about this article which is titled as Understanding Dark Patterns. This is with respect to the deceptive practices that e-commerce and other digital platforms often employ for the purpose of compromising on the client autonomy and increasing their sales, and hence the term dark patterns. We're also going to understand as to what is the reaction of the world community and how India is dealing with this problem and what are the legal recourses that the customers or the consumers have. The second segment for today would be the news update segment. And thirdly, we talk about important legal developments of the day. So, with this, let's dive into the TNA. And the first point of discussion would be this article. Let's start with the why of this first. See, very recently, the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Advertising Standards Council of India, it held a joint consultation with the stakeholders concerned. What was the reason or agenda of this joint consultation? It was to address the problem of dark patterns, and the Advertising Standards Council, it has now come up with guidelines for the purpose of addressing this problem, and also the central government is working towards norms against these practices. So the question arises as to what is this concept of dark patterns and what are these practices? For this very purpose, before we dive into the coinage of this word and the definitional aspects of it, let's take an example. See, suppose I am a user of Amazon or any other e-commerce platform for that matter. I'm just giving you an example, not to cite any specific names. So I am a user, and if I want to purchase XYZ commodities or goods, and I've added three items in my cart before I do the final billing. Now, when I do the final billing, I realize that the products that I added were three number, but now there are five products. So where did these two products come from? Or oftentimes I realize that before I added the product in my cart, the prices were lower, but now the prices have increased. So what are these? These are essentially deceptive practices that are often being used by e-commerce platforms or by other digital platforms for the purpose of deceiving their consumers and for the purpose of enhancing their sales. So these are some of the examples of the practice of dark patterns. Termed in the year 2010 by Harry Brignall, dark patterns, these are deceptive strategies that are often employed by companies for the purpose of tricking their clients. It's a deceptive practice which is employed to influence user behavior in a manner that it benefits the company which is implementing it, but it acts to the very detriment of the consumer or the customer. Let's take some of the examples of this practice in order to understand it thoroughly. So we've already discussed the practice of sneak into basket, wherein if let's say I added three items, but then I realized that there are five items in my cart which I did not add. So what did this practice do for me is that this is compromise on my user autonomy and my decision making capacity. Another example of this would be that I'm sure many of us have encountered that there are oftentimes these pop-up requests that we get which says that if you want to continue on our website or continue availing our services, then you have to give us access to your personal information. Now, if I want to retract from that page or if I want to reject this pop-up, so I often see that the option to reject or to retract, this is not clearly visible anywhere on the page, and rather this is very subtly mentioned somewhere on the corners, right? And this is for the purpose of deceiving the consumer into accepting these pop-ups, and in order to make it really hard for the consumers and the users to get to that option of rejecting these pop-up requests. So what these practices of dark patterns doing essentially is that they are infringing on the consumer's right for full transparency of the services that they are using, and it controls over their browsing experience, and as a result the consumer, the individual, they end up losing on their autonomy. As far as the Indian law is concerned, these deceptive patterns that manipulate consumer choices, and impede their right to be well informed, they constitute unfair practices. And unfair practices, these are prohibited under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Now, there is a question that might arise, and this is relevant for us, the members of the legal fraternity, which is that are dark patterns illegal? So, see, many believe that the use of dark patterns, this is a business strategy. So, therefore, the legality of these practices, it becomes a very complex matter. Why? Because distinguishing between manipulation and fraudulent intent, this can be a very challenging task to do. And as of now, there is no specific regulation in place in most nations across the world against the practices of dark patterns. Nonetheless, individuals who have experienced harm as a result of these practices, they can anytime, claim compensation for damages. And to give you an example, last year in 2022, Google and Facebook, they faced some sort of repercussions and consequences. Why? Because they were making it really difficult for the consumers to reject or deny cookies as compared to accepting them. So when using services of both of these companies or these giants, tech giants, accepting the cookie, it becomes an easier practice than rejecting it. So as a result, they face repercussions, and these companies, they violated EU and French regulations by making these cookie denying as a complex and more difficult practice as compared to accepting them. So now let's understand as to what is the global community saying on it and what is its take on it. So major international authorities, they are now acting and formulating rules against these practices and addressing the increasing concerns. To take some examples, in a letter to UK businesses, the Competition and the Markets Authority of UK, it has listed different pressure selling techniques that the authority believes would likely violate consumer protection laws and for which actions will be taken. So it has already enlisted some of these practices which as per the authority are going to be a likelihood of there is going to be a likelihood of violation of the consumer protection laws by virtue of these practices. Another example would be that guidelines from the European Data Protection Board, they were issued in 2022 last year, and these guidelines, they offer designers and the users of social media platforms practical guidance on how to spot and to avoid these so-called dark patterns, which are in violation of the General Data Protection Regulation laws. As far as India is concerned, the Advertising Standards Council of India, it has now asked companies to desist from using such means as in these practices of dark patterns in the market, and also the Department of Consumer Affairs, it has issued some warning letters highlighting that such practices, this is a violation of this particular provision, which is Section 29 of the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. So with this, now we proceed to the next segment for today. And this has brought us to the next segment for today, where we talk about important updates that are coming from the world of science and technology. So let's proceed with the same. Instagram launches a text-based conversation app which is called Threads to take on Twitter. Meta on Instagram, it is launching its new application called Threads to rival Twitter. The dashboard of this app, it looks similar to that of Twitter, and as per the parent company Meta, this is called this app. It may be described as text-based conversation app. According to reports, a user, in order to sign up on this app, has to have an Instagram account. And in fact, once you sign up, the username that you have for Instagram, the same is going to be reflected here. Additionally, the app is going to allow users to quickly follow all the users that they follow on Instagram. The launch of this app, it is seen by many as the latest development in the rivalry between the two heads of these companies. For Meta, we have Mark Zuckerberg, and for Twitter, we have Elon Musk. Moving on to the national news category for today, the Financial Planning Standards Board of India, it has announced that it has appointed Krishan Mishra as its new Chief Executive Officer. This appointment is going to come in effect from 1st of August this year. As the CEO of the company, Mishra will lead the strategy and the operation of the company in India, and he is going to campaign the advancement of financial planning profession in our country. India launches Bharat 6G Alliance. So, recognizing the rapidly evolving nature of telecom sector and the importance of staying ahead of technological obsolescence, the Department of Telecommunications it has launched the Bharat 6G Alliance. The primary objective of this alliance it is to go beyond technological requirements and to understand the business and the societal needs of 6G technology. By fostering consensus and promoting open research and development initiatives, this alliance it aims to drive development of 6G technologies in India. One of the very key goals of this alliance it is to facilitate market access for Indian telecom technology product and services, enabling the country to emerge as a global leader when it comes to the playing field of 6G technology. Government of India it is organizing an international conference on green hydrogen. This was done during the time period of 5th to 7th of July, and this was done at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. The purpose of organizing this conference it is to bring together the global scientific, policy, academic, and industrial leaders to discuss recent advances and emerging technologies in the entire green hydrogen value chain. The conference it will enable the sector stakeholders to explore the evolving green hydrogen landscape and innovation driven solutions in the sector that's strengthening the sustainability ecosystem of the sector. Lieutenant General MU Nair he takes over as India's top cyber security chief. Lieutenant General he takes over as the new National Cyber Security Coordinator. He, who took the role of the 28th Signal Officer in Chief in July of last year, brings a wealth of experience and expertise in the areas of cyber warfare, signal intelligence, communications, and information technology. Before assuming the position of the National Cybersecurity Coordinator, Lieutenant General Nair he held the position of Commandant at the Military College of Telecommunication Engineering. Indian Naval Air Squadron 324 it celebrates first anniversary at INS Dega in Visakhapatnam. The Indian Navy Air Squadron 324 was commissioned last year on 4th of July into the Indian Navy at a commissioning ceremony that was held at INS Dega in Visakhapatnam. The unit it is first naval squadron on the eastern seaboard which is operating the indigenously designed and built advanced light helicopter Mk3 AMR helicopters. UGC makes PhD optional for recruitment to the post of assistant professor in institutions of higher education. The national eligibility test, the state eligibility test, the state level eligibility test. These tests will be minimum criteria for direct recruitment to the post of assistant professor in all universities and colleges, the UGC has announced. UGC chairperson he issued two clarifications via a tweet, and these clarifications read as follows. For those with a master's degree, these tests, this is the minimum requirement for the direct recruitment to a recruitment as an assistant professor, and PhD degree holders awarded as per UGC guidelines, they're eligible for direct recruitment to the post of assistant professor and they're exempted from all of these tests. Therefore, by virtue of these clarifications, it can be said that PhD qualification for appointment to this particular post, it would be optional from 1st of July. And now we proceed to the international segment for today, with this being the first update. UAE establishes new Ministry of Investment to boost economic competitiveness. The UAE it has announced the establishment of a new Ministry of Investment which is aimed at developing the investment vision of the country and enhancing its competitiveness in the global market. The ministry's its main responsibilities will include proposing investment policies, preparing strategies and legislation, and implementing national programs to promote the investment environment and enhance its competitiveness. World Zoonoses Day. This is the next update. Zoonosis, this is an infectious disease that can spread between species. That is, it can spread between or from animals to humans or vice versa, so from humans to animals. According to WHO, zoonotic pathogens, they may be bacterial, may be viral, may be parasitic, or may involve unconventional agents, and they can spread to humans through direct contact or through food, water, or the environment. They represent a major public health problem around the world due to our close relationship with animals in agriculture, as companions, and also in the natural environment. Zoonosis, this can also cause disruptions in the production and the trade of animal products for food and other uses. As far as the history of this day is concerned, the origin of this day, it can be traced back to 1885, when a French scientist by the name of Louis Pasteur, he developed a successful rabies vaccine. The day it was officially recognized and observed on 6th of July in 2007, honoring his 100th death anniversary, and ever since on this particular day we are celebrating this day. And with this, we've come to the last segment for today, with this being the first update. Expeditious trial of terror attack cases, it is necessary. The Supreme Court says delay in 1996 Lajpat Nagar Blast Case, it compromised national security. So while dealing with these batch of cases, the Supreme Court of India, while sentencing to life imprisonment without remission for Jammu and Kashmir Islamic Front militants convicted for their role in 1996 Lajpat Nagar bomb blast case, not only underscored the importance of speedy trials, but the top court also considered the time elapsed since the terror attack as well as the date of conviction as mitigating circumstances in not awarding the death penalty. Before we proceed to the next question, the next news update, this is the question that I have for all of you, and I request all of you to please put down your answer in the comment section. Right to have access to speedy trial, it is a part and parcel of which of the fundamental rights of Indian Constitution? Please put down your answers. Now, the next update, it comes from the High Court of Telangana. Warrant case. A trial court cannot take cognizance against accused not charge sheeted by police based on sworn statements. The Telangana High Court has quashed a trial court order wherein cognizance was taken against an accused despite she not having been charge sheeted by the police. The court passed the order on a petition challenging the trial court order in a case under Section 498A of the IPC and Sections 3 and 4 of the Dowry Prohibition Act. It was argued that the cognizance was taken against the charge sheeted accused and the petitioner based on the sworn statements of the witnesses. The name of this particular matter is Kancharana Shri Priya versus the state of Telangana. And this has brought us to an end of the TNA. In case you want to get access to the free study materials that we curate or the TNA slides that have been used in this video, please feel free to join our Telegram for the same purpose. And in order to access our Telegram channel, you may scan the barcode here or you may click on the link which is given in the description. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. Also, the quiz that is based on yesterday's TNA, it is made available for your kind consideration in this video. Please go ahead and attempt the same. Thank you for being with us.